by 2, 7 rows deep, and rolling up to the start-finish line. It looks like Asher going a little bit off track as the inside.
As they can. Saber making an amazing dive into turn 1.
And electroshocks off. Eggful gets the move.
But MNU trying to take a move.
Big contact from 5 different punches.
Big incident with Snowdog, our leader.
As we head into town row, it's a big crash. It's a big crash between the two title contenders.
Welcome back, everybody. Happy first day of, it's actually the second day here, but technically the first day of March here, but we are back for racing here in the Simufur GT3 series, and we are here, and where else can we have this race other than Donington Park, a classic circuit, home of historic races ranging from Formula 1, BTCC, you name it. But right now, we are here racing for the Simufur GT3 series. I'm Suzuka, and alongside me is Kady. Kady, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. I honestly, this circuit gives me a lot of anxiety just looking at it. If I'm being completely honest, I mean, in these cars, it's gonna be mostly fine, is my guess. But definitely, it's a lot of really tight corners, lots of sweepers, not a whole lot of super fantastic overtaking opportunities. You know what this reminds me of, actually, speaking of British tracks, is Brands Hatch. There's a lot of Brands Hatch DNA in here, especially in the corners that this Mustang GT3 is working up through right now, where you have these sort of like blind uphill sweepers, and it's really tough to navigate around there. So into this hairpin right here, probably going to be your best bet if you're looking to get a move done, maybe into turn 1 if you could manage to get far enough alongside. But other than that, it can be tough around here, so we'll see how the drivers handle it, and qualifying will be especially important, as that's a Porsche doing a fantastic looking drift off into the grass there. Thankfully didn't take out any marker boards. We'll get those back set up once practice gets finished here anyway. But yeah, so it's been a really good championship so far. I think have a lot of different layers of competition happening, lots of battles just between the classes, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Donington Park, as you mentioned, a track similar to Brands Hatch. Now, that's actually because this is what I would call an old school track, similar to tracks like Snetterton, Brands Hatch. You mentioned this is not like Silverstone. We have lots of pavement, lots of runoff in some sections. It's classic style. It's nothing but grass or gravel. I mean, I prefer defined limits like that, and that part of old school tracks is why I love it. And what makes racing here pretty tricky, because you don't have a lot of room, as I believe that is Sadcat trying going down the inside of Blade Wolf Kagakiyo. Now, take in mind, these two are, I believe, they're fighting for the Silver Class Championship. Blade Wolf at the moment, who I believe is a championship class leader coming into this race, will have to be fighting hard. This is their home race, may I tell you, because the British driver will have to show the fans how it's done here in Donington Park.
Well, that's the idea, right? You never want to, especially when you're fighting for a championship position, for sure. This is going to be a race that I think is probably going to set the tone for a lot of just what we're going to be looking at for the last 2 rounds of this series. You know, we're coming back from not a huge break, but a little bit of a break. Folks might be just a little bit rusty. They've had some time to practice for sure, some extra time. But especially for the folks who took advantage of the break to head on down to Nordic FuzzCon, that was definitely something that would have taken up their time, and so maybe didn't have as much time to practice this one. So we got a good sized train going here, heading into one of the just completely bailing out of that one, and in fact not able to recover it. But they were heading down into one of the sort of primary features of this racetrack, which is that really fast chicane sort of towards the end of the lap. It's a place where you don't want to go side by side if you can possibly manage it. There's really not room for any more than one car through that particular section of track. So we'll see if anybody is brave enough to see if they want to try to hold it. We may see some racing in there, but honestly, if they're smart, I think they're probably going to just wait a couple more corners and take their moves in a bit more of a safer location, or at least that's what I would do if I was on track today.
I mean, yes, Donington Park does not have a lot of overtaking spots to offer, so chicanes like that, you do not want to see yourself passing a car there. Two hardly going to one unless you two are really great at coordinating with each other, but it's going to be really tricky for the likes of Mirski Lowy, who we saw earlier in that pink Taegang Racing GTR spin-off. Now, I do want to say they've recently been promoted to the gold class, so they're no longer fighting for silver class honors. They are fighting with the likes of Daniel Taberner, over here Chris Clippert, and Sauce Dragon, and Nicholas Zahn, with Taberner, Zahn, and Dragon, who I believe are in the championship fight for the gold class.
Yeah, and it's definitely Taverner's been stretching their legs a little bit at the top of the leaderboard in the last couple of rounds. It's definitely the clearest lead that anybody has in any of our leaderboards that we've seen so far. But again, that's far from a guarantee, especially at a track like this where, as you said, lots of grass around here. One wrong move and you can end up losing quite a few positions. And you definitely don't want to get into those walls. There's a lot of room before you get to those walls, unlike sort of the sister track of Brands Hatch, where there's really not a whole lot of room before you start hitting those. As Saj managing
Save it.
to...
No.
I think that was a little bit too much fishtailing there from the 73 Mustang and the Porsche having to get around as well. But yeah, so we have a minute and 30 seconds left on qualifying today. I'm not sure what we should be expecting in terms of lap times. Definitely sub 90 seconds is what I would expect at the very least. And I guess from there we'll just have to see what everybody's pace looks like. And once again, we have the manufacturer liveried Mustang GT3 on the grid. Very nice to see that once again. But you can see already we've got some interesting names at the top of our practice leaderboard at the very least. I don't know how much anyone is pushing particularly. There's quite a bit of space between, especially the top three and the rest of the grid. There's about a second between them. So that I expect will probably get a lot closer together when we get to qualifying time. But at least for now, it looks like Sadcat is putting in some pretty good times.
Yeah, I'm looking at my time right now. It's at the moment it's Sauce Dragon with the overall lead with Taberner 2/10 down, and Sadcat in a similar time. Now, I do want to mention Daniel Taberner did not have the best race a few weeks ago in Kyalami, so if I was in Taberner's shoes, I'm looking to bounce back really hard here. I mean, Donington Parks these British tracks are like a home race to a lot of our drivers, considering a lot of them are from the United Kingdom, so they're all going to be really rushing for honors right there in circuits like these. Now, I believe that free practice will be ending soon, and that we'll be getting to qualifying. So, Kady, what are your thoughts? Who do you think will be on pole position? Because it's at the moment, from what I've seen in practice times, it was really close between Lohi and Taberner.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does look pretty close, if I'm being honest. And for sure, I believe at this point, they should be scoring points in these races. So that will definitely be a boon to them as they continue through the back half of this championship. See how well they can make their way up the order before the end of this one. Should not be a championship contender by any means. I think the ship has pretty much sailed on that. But at least for this race, yeah, the times are looking really really close together. And I think it's probably just going to be a matter of, on a track like this, you just want to see if you can just find some space out there on track. We have qualifying split up between our three classes, but it's going to be the AMs that are going to have the toughest time finding that clear air because there are so many of them on track, as they have been in the previous rounds of this series. And I feel like for this track isn't particularly short. It's how long is this track? It's
Let me
like
dig up the info. I am
4 kilometers, almost exactly 4 kilometers, 2.5 miles. That's, I mean, it feels shorter than it is, and I think that mostly has to do with just all the blind corners and just those tight sweepers and everything. So definitely, I think it's going to end up posing a bit of a challenge to try to find that clear air. And the clear air is going to be really important, considering that you want to keep as much downforce as you can through the high speed stuff. You don't want to be following another car through that.
Yeah, the dirty air will really compromise you. As we see, Danmar. I was about to say Danmar was having a clean air, but I guess now that's been given to the number 621 of who I believe that is Nutagen in the White Point Porsche. So they're the ones that actually have the clean air now, and will be making the most out of that clean air to get as much aerodynamic grip on that Porsche, which I believe it's not as heavily aero dependent as the likes of Mars McLaren, but it's still a GT3 car. It still needs that aero to get as much traction, as much cornering out of the technical sections of this circuit as much as possible. As we look over to JPEG Fox in that Aston Martin, who has been a solid driver here in the AM class for a while now. He may be quietly in the scene, quietly blending in, but JPEG Fox has been scoring quite decently from what I've been remembering from his past races.
Yeah, I think I recall a pretty good recovery drive at the Red Bull Ring. Went up quite a few positions before the end of that one. Might have been one of those drivers that benefited a lot from the wet weather. But again, a rare dry day today in the UK, so they won't have any of that to contend with. I'm sure all of the drivers here are thankful to have some dry weather running. They can push as much as they feel comfortable doing. As the Audi Evo 2, I'm almost certain that's what that is. I can't really tell them apart, but I would be very surprised if someone was using an Evo 1. Coming around for, I think this should be our first flying lap of the session.
At the moment, I don't see times being posted at the moment, so probably an invalidation somewhere. But at the moment, I'm looking at the radar right now. I believe it's going to be... Is it going to be Lewis Gordon? I don't think so. Yeah, at the moment, everyone's out for their out lap. From what I remember, it's a bit tricky to judge, but yes, everyone's rolling out, and let's see what those lap times will be.
Yeah, actually hasn't been too bad in terms of the clear air like we were talking about, especially for Luis here, who has just a completely empty track ahead and behind pretty much. So should just be able to focus in and get those lap times. I think this is going to be a track that is going to ramp up significantly as the session continues on. We've got 30 minutes for qualifying today, as always, and each class has 10 minutes to get their laps in. And there is our first time. That is a 128.5 on the dot. And that was followed up by a time 0.02 of a second slower. And now we have Nishihara Rio up in front with that 127.7. That is well clear, at least a half a second out of anybody else on the grid. So the times are already dropping quite significantly, and we should see them drop even more when we get to our silvers and pros.
A driver interest here, that was Lewis Gordon. I believe they will be coming up to their to their first lap of the qualifying session, and oh, that's quite wide on the final hairpin. That is going to cost them a lot, and that won't be a representative lap time, and Luis Gordon will have to go around again to try and top the qualifying session. But at the moment, I believe the name is it's Rio on pole position by 3/10 on Usinich. Yes, that's another newcomer here, and I believe that I'm not sure if Rio's an AM or an AM driver, but I know for sure that Fusinich is a newcomer here in the Simufur grid, and they're already showing quite the pace.
Yeah, welcome. Here's a P2. Have fun with it. And you have another 5 minutes to see if you can do a little bit better than that. My guess for that little bit from Luis Gordon there, I know it's a very popular strategy on this track for qualifying to really like keep to the outside of that final hairpin as much as you can to just try to get a really, really strong drive and carry as much speed as possible when you're actually starting your lap. If you compromise the corner that much on your actual flying lap, it's going to end up being a lot slower. But for the lap before, where it doesn't matter, and you just want to see if you can eke out that last, half a tenth or so, I think it's worth on the run down to turn 1 on the start-finish straight. It will definitely come into play as an advantage if you can pull it off. So I think that's probably what most of them are doing. Now that they're getting into their rhythm, though, they're just going to be trying to navigate that corner the way that you're kind of supposed to. Still want to take a fairly late apex on it, but for when you're setting up for that qualifying lap, you're not really taking the apex at all. You're just sort of following the outside of the track all the way around. I know that there's leagues out there that try to tamp down on that behavior sometimes, or at the very least just try to stop drivers from just slowing up unnecessarily on that final corner to make sure that everybody keeps moving and doesn't hold up anybody else. But at least for here, it seems like folks are taking advantage of it.
Right now, Nishihara Rio on a flyer. They're currently 3/10 down on their personal best. They're going to actually dethrone Niklas Vucinic for pole position. So they are on pole for the AM and NAT split at the moment, but Vucinic looks like I think they're going to be coming back, but this time won't be it because they're only a few hundreds down. So Vucinic only down by a tenth, and Rio with an outstanding lap time quite a ways ahead of the field.
We've got some pretty good improvements in the wings, though. Renfield down in P6 in that Mustang is up almost a half a second on their best lap. That should put them either 3rd or 4th on this grid if they're able to nail that lap time and pump it in. But yeah, it's looking like there's quite a few improvements up and down the field. Mango as well doing quite well, and we have towards the top of the field, Fusinich is on a lap that's good enough for pole right now. If they're able to get it in by at least a couple of tenths, Rio is going to have to respond here before the end of the session. 2 minutes left. You have probably this lap and one more if you're crossing the line right now. So the laps are taking down here, and the time to get brave through that chicane, as you were just seeing Fusinich there, was able to carry the speed pretty well through there. Late braking into this second to last hairpin. Late apex, late as you can get, and just get on the power as much as you can. Losing a little bit of time down the straight, but it's not too bad. It's about equivalent to whatever their best was. And once again, same deal here, just taking that late apex, tracking all the way out to the exit, and a pretty short run to the start finish line here. And that is going to be good enough for a 127.4. That's actually only 0.07 of a second clear of Rio. At one point, it looked like it was going to be a few tenths, so might have lost a little bit of time through those last two corners, but for now, it's definitely good enough, and they're on an improvement again.
Yeah, these two are really close between each other, trading blows for pole position. But look over here, we have George Sarami, one of the championship contenders for the AM class, and I feel like they're on a lap time that could dethrone the two. Knock on wood. Hopefully The rest of Sector 3 will be really good for that number 212 Garage 42 Porsche as they put the power down. A little bit of sliding. That's not what you want on the lap time, and they are just dropping in terms of lap time from that, and they are currently 110 down, but they're gonna recover a lot on that chicane. They're back on 310s. They got 2 hairpins to go. George Sarami, can they dethrone the two drivers ahead of him?
Wasn't
Got
a great hairpin there.
Oh, yep. Hard braking into the hairpin. Hopefully it's not too wide. Oh no, it's too wide. But Sarami going for the late exit. No, I don't think he's got it. He's gonna go for one more lap for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely what I was talking about right there. You want to sort of track out and then cut back as much as you can. I think they figured with that, even though it was still a pretty good lap, like they were still at least 3/10 up or something. But I guess they just felt like the amount of improvement that they could get after that slide was enough for them to want to just bail out of that lap and try again for this one and really just maximize this lap time as much as they could. If it was me personally, I would take the lap time that I have, because that's a lap time in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, I suppose. But Fusionist is done pulling off into the kitty litter. That's going to be the end of their qualifying. Rio is in the pit lane as well, so they're not going to be able to put in a lap that's going to be good enough for pole, so they're going to have P2 at best, and it's looking more and more like Sarami is going to be able to take that away from them as long as they're able to finish this lap. Okay, nobody else is on a particularly strong improvement at this point. Redfield is actually still down in that P6 position. I wonder where that lap time went that we were looking at earlier. That was 5 or 6 tenths or something like that. But here comes Sarami around the final corner here. This should be breaking down the hill and keeping it to the inside as much as they could. Maybe not as late of an apex as they would have wanted. It's going to be good enough for just shy of 0.2 of a second improvement, and that is going to be them up to P3. They are 7 thousandths of a second away from that P2 of Rio. So Rio just barely hangs on to the front row, and Luis Gordon is going to line up alongside Sarami on that second row in their BMW. So really, really close times throughout the field, but we could already see sort of the groups separating out. We've got that top 3 are all kind of together. 4 and 5 are pretty close, and that 6 and 7 are pretty close as well. And then from there, it's just sort of dropping down in the lap times. But here come the Silvers out on track.
Yeah, so close, but not quite for George Sarami as Nicholas Fusinich takes pole position for the AM and NAT classification split. But here comes the silver split. Now, this will be the interesting one here, folks. This is Sadcat, one of the championship contenders. The big question here is who will get pole position in the silver class, because that will be a phenomenal. It will be inevitable if it were Blade Wolf, assuming luck goes his way, because once he's on pole position, he's going to be really defending like crazy, and you know how hard it is to overtake in Donington Park, let alone try to get past Blade Wolf. But here comes Sadcat, one of the contenders, hoping to get that Lamborghini on top of the silver class standings. But with those times, I feel like the silvers are going to mix in with the leaders in the AM and national split.
Yeah, that's actually happening more and more often nowadays, I feel like, where we see sort of the pace difference in our AMs and our silvers. It's pretty similar sometimes on some of these tracks, especially ones that are really technical like this, and a couple of mistakes here and there can definitely drop your lap times. So it's definitely more of a track where, as long as you can just find your rhythm and find those little improvements that you can get by just being a little bit braver up the hill, being a little bit braver through the chicane, and just trusting the car to stick as much as it can through those sections, you can usually find a lap time that might be good enough to beat folks that are in a higher class than you. But so for right now, again, these are very, very early lap times. Sadcat up in P6 right now, and Blade Wolf down in P9, so that would not be where they would want to start for this race. So they are going to have to improve on this one. Charter down in P13, but from there, I think it's pretty much going to be non-representative lap times. So once they come around again, get those tires warmed up, and we'll start to see some more of what they're capable of.
At the moment, Blade Wolf, not a lot of progress in terms of gain on their lap time. They are currently about a tenth. Yeah, only a tenth down, so this won't be a lot. However, I think that there's still lap time left with the rubber coming onto the track and those tires getting warmer and the fuel getting lighter even. I feel like these factors will pay dividends into how the lap times will go in the end, because these are just gonna get, this is just the beginning. It's gonna get faster by the end of the silver class qualifying session.
Yeah, you can already see that rubber being laid down sort of on the track. Those are not super dynamic, I don't believe. They just kind of show up as the track progresses from green to into its sort of optimal rubbered state. But that still gives us a pretty good indication of exactly what the grip is looking like, as well as those marbles out there on the outside of the track, which you definitely don't want to get into if you are looking for the best lap times. But here, Sierra Thomas crossing the line has been another really a really competitive car up in the silver class, so I would expect them to do pretty well today. And Charter now taking the lead from Sadcat by just under a tenth, it looks like, but nobody's still able to get even close to that time from Fusinish up there in P1. It's they're still over half a second off.
Another driver that's familiar with Simufur but new to this season is Jax Wilson, who is also known as Eggful in previous races. But Jax Wilson here, coming out of nowhere. Now this will be interesting because they've been a pretty solid driver, as far as I'm aware from previous racing experience. So I think Wilson's going to bring some spice into this competition.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, if the more competitors, the better. That's what I always say for sure. Sadcat putting in theirs the lap time that they were looking for, and there's the lap time that Charter was looking for as well. They're both up to P4 and P5 now, respectively. They're still 0.3 off of that Fusinish time, which it's looking more and more impressive, as well as those times from Rio and Sarami, which are right up there along with them. Now you only have about 3 minutes and 38 seconds now and counting if you want to try to get in those lap times. But for Blade Wolf, it hasn't been looking like a good qualifying so far. They'll still have a couple more laps for sure, but hasn't really seen a super huge improvement off of that sort of initial time that they put in, maybe a tenth here and there. But they're going to have to get a little bit braver if they want to be able to trade blows up there. And that was really, really close. That is closer than you want to be in qualifying for sure. Save it for the race.
You do not want to be, exactly what you said. You do not want to get into that dirty air. Sadcat losing a lot of grip on exit from the dirty air. Blade Wolf Kagyo now. While you do want the toe for the straight line section, like you said, Donington Park, it's more corners and straights, so I don't think the toe will benefit as much as tracks like Silverstone, Monza. And yeah, that was Sadcat abandoning the lap, so they'll go for another one in much cleaner air. But Blade Wolf Kagyo coming out of that, I don't think they're gaining that much. They're only just under the lap times of Jesper Swingley, and I'm not sure if it's going to be Kagyo in pole position for the silver class. It's at the moment, it looks like it's a fight between Sadcat and Dolphin Charter.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's looking like so far for sure. And yeah, definitely a good enough to improve Blade Wolf's lap time there, but not their position. They are still down in P11. This is looking a little bit better. They've gotten a couple of tenths out of it. That should be good enough to kick them further forward in the field, at least into the top 10. So if they can get this lap in, that would be a pretty good improvement. But Swingley right in front of them is on an even better improvement at this point, so they may be stuck behind that 279 Porsche towards the start of this race, or at the very least sharing a grid row with them That'll probably end up being something that they'll want to figure out once they get into the race of just trying to get in front of that car as fast as they can if they want to start pushing up towards the front to be able to defend their championship position. But at least for both of them right now, this is going to be a much better lap. They're gonna get back into the mix there. And as I said that, there's Swingley sort of splitting the middle between Sadcat and Charter with that lap time.
Jesper Swingley from the top ropes out of nowhere with that lap time. Never mind, Blable Kagekiyo is also in on the action. Both Swingley and Kagekiyo from the top ropes competing with the lap times of Sadcat and Charter. It's gonna be really close now as the dying minutes, or dying seconds of this qualifying session only allows for one more lap between these guys. I think Sadcat and Kagekiyo are in the pit lane, so it's down to Swingley and Charter, the two Garage 42 race cars, to try and top the silver class qualification.
Charter's looking like they're on a really, really good lap so far. It might not just be good enough for beating the silvers. It might be good enough for competing for the overall pole as it stands right now. The 24 Lamborghini looking pretty strong through these higher speed corners. And we are heading down to the, this should be the chicane right here. We could probably get a lot of time through here. And that looked pretty aggressive through both of them. A little bit of time lost, but it was maybe about equivalent to their fastest lap. They're under 2/10 now in terms of an improvement. And I think that's probably around where they're going to stay, unless this is a better exit. Nah, it didn't look like it. They're kind of bleeding off this lap time. We've seen this from a couple of drivers throughout this session, where they carry a lot of lap time delta into the final two corners, and then for some reason they just lose it. But that's going to bump them up one position at the very least. It's going to get them in front of Jesper Swingley and sharing a grid row with them. Sadcat's going to be in front of the rest of them, and for Blade Wolf, who wanted to be able to drive this race from a defensive position because that's where they know that they can shine and where they can sort of show off their best strengths as a driver. They're going to be at the back of this little group of silvers at the start of this one, so it's going to be an uphill race for them.
Yes, as the gold, I believe it's gold, and I'm not sure if we still have pro drivers here at the moment. Golds have been our impromptu leaders, but yes, the gold drivers are coming out for the qualifying session, and this is going to be very interesting because will those three lap times of Nick Fusenich, Rio, and Sarami be dethroned by these drivers? Because those look like solid lap times. It only takes drivers like these guys to dethrone them, but we're looking at one of the potential pole sitters here, Mirski Lohi from that pink T-Gang Racing GTR. They've been nailing it all time in the practice sessions before we've even gone to the broadcast. So they are a favorite here in the race, and yep, they're slowing down, trying to get dirty air with their teammate Chris Clippert right behind. So there might be some teammate helping here, Tiggy rules or something, I don't know. But Mirski Lohi and Chris Clippert are going together, and let's go on board for a lap around Donington Park, shall we?
Yeah, neither of them taking that wide line there as we were seeing the other drivers do throughout this one. But yeah, on board the GTR here, fast sweeper through turn one, and then you're heading on down the hill. This track has a lot of elevation change basically all throughout it. Fast sweeper here, this should be pretty much flat, and then you're on the brakes pretty hard. Still into fourth gear though. It's quite a fast sweeper. You want to make sure that you don't hit the grass on the outside there, and now you're going back up the hill through this little divot. And now here's the corner that reminds me a lot of Brands Hatch right here. This sort of blind uphill sweeper. You take that in third gear. A little bit of a twitch from the steering wheel there from Lohi, but manages to collect it okay. A little bit of a slower corner here, but still in third gear. You're just trying to manage the grip all the way through there. You can see the sawing at the wheel there that was happening all the way up to sixth gear on this sort of back straight here, and now into the chicane. Really, really quick here. Not a whole lot of curb or anything to deal with. You just want sort of plow the car through there and just see if it sticks, and looked like it sticked fairly well there, although it'll probably be faster as we get into the later lap times. Again, late apex here for the second to last hairpin, all the way up the gears, heading on down towards the final corner. You have the pit building over on the left side there, just sticking to the inside here as much as you can, really patient on the throttle once again, and then tracking all the way out to the outside. That looked like a pretty good lap. Let's see what it ends up being. And I don't know if that was... Looks like a 128.322 there from Lohi, so definitely it'll get faster than that. We have to imagine. I mean, this car has been, I mean, since the last time out at the Red Bull Ring, when they were still not scoring points in this championship, they've gone straight up into the gold class from national, which has only happened a couple of times before. They're a really strong driver, and I have to imagine we'll be seeing some much better lap times.
I do want to correct you. Lohi actually went from national to silver, and then from silver to right now here in the gold class. So Lohi has been really impressing the stewards in Simufur with their driving ability. So yeah, really hard to see someone climb the field that high, but in occasions like Lohi, I mean, they really do deserve it. They've got the skill for it. They've got the racecraft. They've got the pace for it. As we see Parker Olsen, another Taegang Racing teammate, going in for a qualifying lap. And now I do want to point out a fun fact for Parker Olsen. Now they just got a new setup, and they got a new set of wheels, a wheelbase, a steering wheel, and a new set of pedals, and all of those have been bought from, I believe, all of those have been bought from Wolfen Raveloff, who unfortunately is not present here as they are away, as far as I'm aware. But yes, Olsen in new equipment, so let's see how a direct drive wheel will suit that number 74 McLaren.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, take good care of it and have fun with the direct drive. It's let me tell you, especially in a game like this where the force feedback isn't super great to begin with, just having that little bit of extra feeling is definitely an advantage, and should hopefully see some improvement in the lap times as well. If not in the lap times, then definitely in the consistency. But now we finally have a lap time to dethrone Fusenich there at the top, and it is a really good one. It is 8/10 clear at least of everybody else on the grid, so that is going to be, it's looking more and more like it's going to be yet another Sunday drive for Daniel Taberner here of Racing Team Echo. That 83 Lamborghini putting in some really fantastic times here, and is not improving on this one, but honestly, I don't know if they need to.
Again, Taverner wanted to bounce back from a disaster of the race back in the Red Bull Ring. Now Parker Olsen, another driver to dethrone Fusenich, and so as well Sauce Dragon. We have actually Nicholas Zahn. We have lap times already beginning to pierce into those initial lap times from our AM and national class split. So at the moment, the track is ramping up. The lap times are going down, but at the moment, it's Daniel Taberner with a clear lead in pole position.
Yeah, no one else still has broken the 26s, despite getting quite a bit closer, and Fusenich being down in P6 now, which is still a really impressive position to be in. But it definitely wasn't the pole that they had for the first 27 minutes of this session, so I'm sure they probably weren't expecting it, but still, that's a really good place to start in, right there on that third row. Christian Klippert here heading around, currently in P12 right now, about a couple of tenths improvement right now should hopefully get them back up into the top 10 where they want to be, chasing their teammates, and Vossi down as well in P17 should be looking to be better as well. It was really good performance from Vossi last time out at the Red Bull Ring, so they'll be looking to capitalize on that once again and get back up into those higher positions. But we have 2 minutes and 20 seconds left. This is a good lap here from from Lohi. It's going to
Oh, a little
be
bit of
a 6
slide.
tenths maybe. I don't think it's going to be good enough. It's a 1/10.5 away from pole position, so definitely still in the cards. And that's our first 26 since Daniel Taverner put in that time earlier in the session. So a couple minutes and a couple of laps left for this qualifying session. I think Lohi could still get it potentially, but they're going to have to find those last 2 tenths somewhere.
Now Vasi Tigris all now coming into the big picture here. They are currently P4, starting from P17 in the qualification. So making up a lot of ground, the number 15 Porsche, but at the moment it's still Daniel Taberner, and behind them a field of Tay-Gang racing cars and one Cabal Simsport car, and this Confuzzle Mustang, who is on quite a gain right now. They are I believe they're 4 tenths last time I checked. Yeah, they're around half a tenth. So a lot of ground for Vossi Tigris. Let's see what this will be. It will be a P3, dethrones Parker Olsen, and stays in that fight between Daniel Taverner and Nicholas Zahn.
Right, yeah. So now we're seeing the usual suspects here at the top of our timing sheets, and it looks like a lot of folks are starting to run out of gas a little bit. Although Nicholas Zahn rounding out the lap right now, this should be quite a good improvement, and that's going to take P3. That's going to take that podium away from Sauce Dragon, who is still going to be able to sit on the second row as it stands right now. But it's looking like nobody other than Yapshin Tech down in P11, who is now in P5, was on any particular fast improvement. But anybody crossing the line right now, this will be their last lap. Sauce is in the pits. They're not going to come back around again, so P4 is going to be the best that they'll do. Hopefully they can hang on to that second row. It doesn't look like anybody behind is on a particularly fast improvement as it stands right now. And Loki is not really on an improvement either, so I don't think they are going to be able to challenge for this pole position. I think it's going to be Daniel Taverner who is going to take pole once again here in GT3 Season 8. Still going around for one last lap. I don't think it's going to matter, but they're just going to try to get in a little bit of style points maybe here, make a statement right before the race kicks off.
They might as well have to make a statement after their race at Red Bull Ring. They want to prove that whatever happened in Red Bull Ring was a fluke, and that they're still in it. They at the moment I think they're the championship leader. They're the one to watch in terms of the championship. They have been on it bar Red Bull Ring, and this will be another W for Taverner if things go his way here in Donington Park.
Seems to be so far. I mean, it's definitely this qualifying went very well. Vossi's actually on a really good improvement. It looks like right now this should be good enough for perhaps it ends up being they're all the way back up to P5, which was where they were just a few minutes ago. So they're able to hang on to that position. Everybody else is in the pits or has crossed the line to take the checkered flag. And it's going to be Daniel Taverner on pole, as we said, and Lohi lining up right alongside them on that front row. It's going to be, I think, a pretty intense fight into turn one. Nicholas Zahn and Sauce Dragon right behind are going to be looking to take advantage, as is Vossi and Yapshin Tech there on the third row, who could potentially be looking at a gain of some positions if there's any argy-bargy there at the front. But Fusion is still staying there in the top 10 as well as Rio. So those still ended up being really, really good lap times from them. And we've already talked about the situation in silver, but yeah, it's going to heat up, I think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting race coming into turn one. It's going to be Taverner versus Loey again. It's going to be that V10 wedge or that V6 turbo brick, and I want to see who will come out on top here in Donington Park. Two cars of different handling philosophies, so it will be interesting to see who has the upper hand on which section and who can make the most out of their machinery.
Yeah, so I mean, the manufacturer variety has actually been really, really good, but it's looking like the Lamborghinis are looking pretty strong around this track. Lohi there in that Nissan GTR also looking quite strong. I don't know if that's so much the car as it is the driver. We don't have any other points of data to really look at. We only have one other driver in a Nissan right now, and they're down in 26. So I don't think that's going to give us a super accurate estimation of where that car is in terms of pace. The sort of the Porsches down in P5 and P6, usually they do pretty well on tracks where you have a lot of really high traction zones because they can get that acceleration out. At this track, it's a lot of sweepers, and while that car can still get a lot of rotation, I think it's the high speed and sort of getting a little less downforce out of it. I think that can sometimes cost it a little bit of lap time. But regardless, we are going to get ready with an hour of racing here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, the drivers have lined up to the grid at the moment, so let's get to our grid walk as we speak right now. Now, the GTR you mentioned, I'll get to that later. Anyways, grid walk. So we have Daniel Tabiter on pole position for Racing Team Echo in the number 83 Lamborghini, starting alongside Mirsky Lohi in that number 5 Tig Gang Racing Nissan GTR, another car to watch for this race. In P3, out of nowhere, we have Nicholas On, another championship contender, repping Cabal Sim Sports in that number 46 Lexus, starting alongside another contender, which is Sauce Dragon in that number 73 Confuzzled Mustang. P5, we have Vossi Tigris in the number 15 Tig Gang Racing Porsche, starting alongside another Porsche. This is Lakey Too Fast's Yap Jin Tech. In P7, we have Parker Olson in the number 74 Tig Gang Racing McLaren, starting alongside their teammate Christian Klippert in the number 236 Mercedes. P9 is Nicholas Fusenich, the newcomer here, setting quite a lap time. Pole position in the AMA National Split, starting alongside Nishihara Rio, rounding up the top 10 in at number 989 Aston Martin. P11, we have George Sarami, who I believe is our silver class pole position. Are they? I don't know. It's George Sarami in the number 212 Garage 42, starting alongside Sadcat. Now that is the silver class pole position there, number 13 Lamborghini. In P13 we have Charter, who was really close to Sadcat but couldn't quite make it. It's a Lambo 1-2 here in the silver class, but of different teams. Starting alongside their teammate in the Garage 42 Porsche, that is Jesper Swingley in the number 279. Number 15, we have a silver class driver, the championship leader, I believe. That is Boydwell Kagio in the number 142 Lycan Racing Aston Martin, starting alongside Luis Gordon, the number 847 Racing Team Echo BMW, starting alongside Racing Mango. Now, I do want to correct, that is a White Point racing car, the number 45 Porsche, racing for White Point, starting alongside the factory Mustang livery of Oliver Redfield in the number 65. Starting in P19, we have Cooper Otter in that number 97 BMW. That is quite a good looking livery. And rounding off P20, we have Sierra Thomas in the number 42 Racing Team Echo Mustang. P21, we have Matti Hoheisel of number 76 White Point Racing, a newcomer here on this grid as far as I'm aware, starting alongside Fluffy White Point themselves in the number 39 White Point Racing Ferrari. P23, we have Proto Nuttigen, another White Point Racing car in the number 621 Nice Porsche, starting alongside P24's Jax Wilson in the number 79 BMW, who is far down in the silver class grid. P25, we have JPEG Fox in that number 12 Aston Martin, starting alongside Garage 42's new addition, Koda Wolf, in that number 78 Nissan GTR. And rounding off our final row, we have P27, that is Manuel Benavides of Tokyo Ghost Racing. And rounding off our grid is the number 260 McLaren of Garage 42, Dan Maurer.
28 cars on this grid. I feel like that is a lot for Donington. We'll see how it goes. I think this is a pretty nice healthy grid though for this particular track. Everybody's still going single file as it stands right now. Maybe getting a little bit farther ahead of their competitors, trying to get those tires and those brakes warmed up. It's going to be pretty important for turn 1, even though it's not a particularly hard braking zone down there into turn 1. It is still a pretty decent overtaking opportunity if you're feeling brave about it. We'll see who's feeling the bravest as we head down into there. And I'm not 100% sure whether pole position gets the inside or the outside line. I guess we'll see once they get lined up 2x2, which they should in just a couple of moments here as we're heading down to the chicane right now. We'll have to be on the lookout for any sort of chaos further down the grid. Again, things were really, really clean last time out at the Red Bull Ring, even with the rain, so I have a lot of confidence. We'll see how folks manage to handle themselves as they get around there, and we'll see how long that little sort of tire wall there, that black tire wall on the inside of the chicane lasts. Probably not too long. But yeah, here we go, 2x2, and yep, it's going to be the inside line for Daniel Taverner here and the outside for Lohi's, so that should make Lohi's job probably quite a bit harder into turn 1. But again, that does turn into the inside for some of those faster sweepers further on down the lap. So we'll see if they're able to take advantage of it. And we are getting ready to go here as they're crossing the pit lane entry.
I do want to say, I don't think the tire bear is going to last even the first lap. Anyways, talking about the opening lap, the two drivers, Daniel Taverner and Mirski Lohi, lining up alongside each other, waiting for that green flag to wave. It's quite a staggered grid, but I think we're gonna get green soon. Is it gonna be close? It's gonna be a green. We're underway here in Donington Park. It's Daniel Taverner still with a strong lead coming into turn 1, and Mirski falling in behind, but that's Nicholas on down the inside of turn 1, bashing with Lohi, and through goes Vossi Tigris for P2 of the race. Already we have a bit of chaos as Vossi sneaks his way. Lohi dropping positions, running on the grass. That is not the way you really want to start your race, and that is Mirski Lohi down in P7, dropping more and more as the drivers argy-bargy they way through the circuit. Now Rio really under trouble here from, I believe that is, I'm not sure, but one of the white point cars has Parker Olson here racing alongside their teammate. I think they've got it sorted out, but really unfortunate for Lohi. I think we'll have to look at that at some point, but it is Vossi Tigris in P2, but Sauce Dragon getting the overtake on Vossi Tigris, not quite. 2 don't go into 1 in the chicane as Parker Olson tries to get a pick on Sauce Dragon. Will they go around the outside? It's gonna be quite close, but the McLaren trying to get the outside line, but it's Sauce Dragon defending valiantly, but no, it's also for the exit. It's Clifford also in the scene. They're gonna go argy-bargy as Olson goes down the inside, and they've hit their teammate. That's not the two Tank Gang Racing members collide. That is not the start that Fuzzy wants. That's not the start Parcha wants. They're both down in the bottom, and it's now Sauce Dragon taking all the scraps.
Oh gosh, that must have looked like must have lost their braking point or something. I have to imagine, because that was way too late there into that final hairpin. Maybe they were just feeling really sort of pressured from behind and just felt like they had to get ahead of that car. There goes two bollards flying through our picture there as we are trying to just sort out exactly what happened in that race. But yeah, it was a dream start there from Vossi, who's now back down to second. It's almost as if sort of the order has reestablished itself a little bit as we are getting. What did I just miss?
That was I don't know. That was 3-4 wide, but. At the moment, we're still on green.
It's a full course yellow now.
No, we're still green flag racing as we speak, but a lot of drivers going argy-bargy right now. It's utter chaos here in Donington Park. And guys, this is only the first few laps. Just calm down, please. We want to make it to the end, guys.
I mean, Vasi is still just a couple of seconds away from, P2, P1 here. Taverner, by the way, has just completely driven away throughout all of this happening. So, Vasi only a couple of seconds away, could still really recover this. It's really early in the race, so there's still a lot of time to recover those positions. Parker Olsen down in P11 is going to have a little bit of a tougher time with it. We saw that they went all the way into the wall, so they might be carrying just a little bit of damage there on the right side of the car. But Sash back up into P2 now. Christian Klippert actually has benefited immensely from this, is now sitting up there in P3, so definitely to take advantage, although that was pretty wide there, rumbling off onto the grass. They might lose a position or maybe even two from this. Both of them behind are quite hungry, and that's pretty... it's pretty close between the two of them, and I think Niklason is just going to nail this back. Maybe brings it a little bit too much to the outside there, and that just sort of was running out of room there for Christian Klippert, who's now back down to P4 and could potentially be looking at a P5. Should be fine. Oh wow, that is quite a that would have scared me if I was Christian in that situation. Just see a car duck to the inside there on the chicane, maybe just trying to scare him a little bit, trying to scare him off his line and get him. A little bit of an accordion there, and that was enough to turn around Lohi. That is really unfortunate, and Yapshintek is going to hold up behind. So a good sportsmanship there from the both of them, and everybody else is going to filter through, and the day gets worse for Lohi as they're down to P13. From where they started up in second.
These guys are racing like it's the final lap. Like, come on, it's only been the first 3 laps and we're already going archie-barchie with each other. Now, I believe the main benefactors to this are Sauce Dragon and Niklason, who remained relatively clean. It's not the cleanest, but relatively clean. And so I can say the same for Christian Klippert. They've kept their most out of trouble as much as they can, and look where they are. They are P4. They are in the mix, and they could be challenging for the podium positions.
Yeah, but I mean, anybody could be challenging for the podium positions at this point in the race if things continue the way that they are. But Vasi right back into P5. They seem to be magnetized to that position no matter what happens to them. So we'll see if they're able to move forward from here. Should have a pretty decent chance at it. I can't imagine that any damage that they would have sustained from that bit of contact was too serious. So I think they're just going to be able to continue on as normal. It looked like just a bit of a side swipe there from their teammate as they were braking really late into that final hairpin, so shouldn't have been anything more than maybe just some paint traded between the two of them. But Blade Wolf here up into P8 now and far away from the rest of the silver, so this race has gone exactly the way that they wanted to. It's been really, really good from them. It's basically just been a matter of them like holding on to the position that they started in, whereas everybody else has just completely dropped down the order, whether it was from just contacts or just making mistakes, running off into the grass and losing positions that way. But this group of 3 has managed to stick pretty close to each other. This is 6, 7, and 8 here, and Parker Olsen heading up the rear of that little train, and Lohi is still just completely swamped by cars just all around them, trying to get around them as fast as they can. And I hope Swingley makes this easy for them, considering that they are in separate classes as of right now. They know that Lohi is out of position. They know that they won't want to fight too hard, but especially around this track, it can be hard to find a good place to let another car around, even considering that you probably want to do that towards the end of the lap where all those hairpins are. They're going side by side now, but Lohi's on the outside of this corner. That's not going to be good enough for them. Is Swingley defending this? I'm not 100% sure. But it looks like both of them are just sort of trying to run their race here and stay out of each other's way, hopefully, as this one continues to go on, and both of them just taking it easy over the chicane. That's going to be fine for the both of them. I think Swingley kind of is in a position right now where, if Lohi gets close enough to them, they're going to make a pass, and that's very, very late braking from Lohi, and they're going to get around. I don't think Swingley's going to fight that too hard. They are still side by side. I have to wonder if Swingley is worried about losing another position here, but they're going to back off under the brakes and just go ahead and give Lohi that position, or maybe they're not. There's a little bit of front contact between the two of them, and there's a BMW off on the outside there as well. I think that's Hoheisel there in P14 now. 15 that turned into with Luis Gordon heading through as well. So another position gained for Lohi here, and another position lost, it looks like, for Swingley, who I think is still battling for that position with Yapshin Tech. Clearly feels like they're able to sort of fight for a position with these cars in the higher class, but you know, it is losing them a lot of time.
I did want to point this out earlier, but Blade Wolf Kagakiyo with that racecraft, like, you know, he kept his nose clean up until now, and look where that got him, because they are in quite a league on their own at the moment in the silver class. They just kept, and keep in mind, all they did is just to keep their nose clean. They stayed away from whatever chaos was happening, and that just granted them the lead for now.
Yeah, for now. And Taverner continues to stretch their legs. Oh, that's two cars around.
That is not
that's
good.
Sad Cat.
That is
and
Sad Cat.
that's both of the silvers that were going to be fighting for Blade Wolf for these sort of front positions. So definitely the day continues to get worse for the both of them. 19th and 20th and 21st. For most of our silvers down there as well. It looks like the only car that's really going to be able to fight Blade Wolf for the lead of the silver class at this point is probably going to be Swingley, but unfortunately I think it's probably going to be quite a while before they're able to get up there, considering that there's a couple of cars in between the two of them, and one of them being an AM that they're going to have to overtake, so that'll be traffic towards the end of the race. But up at the front, things have remained mostly unchanged. Vossi has gotten a little bit closer to the back of Christian Clippard in P4, but otherwise it looks like the gaps are staying pretty stable. Everybody's doing pretty similar lap times, sort of in that low to mid 27 range, whereas Taverner is just, you know, pumping in, you know, 27 after 27, and that's really what's causing them to get so much of this, as Loki looks to be trying to make their way around another bit of traffic here in the form of Cooper Otter in P10, who is up 9 positions from where they started with all of this chaos. They're going to try to make the move in the chicane, and they're going to make it work, and that was just Cooper backing off a little bit and making sure that the pro you know, was managed to get through okay. So not too much to go before Lohi gets up to the first car that they're actually fighting for position, which is Parker Olsen up there in P8. It is just Blade Wolf that they have to get through now.
Yeah, Lohi picking on these drivers one by one. It looks like they haven't lost much pace, and as Jesper Swing goes around the outside of Cooper Otter, I think they're trying to get past. It's going to be too wide with Jesper Swingley on the inside line into turn 1. So Jesper Swingley, oh yeah, I think Jesper Swingley thinks better of it, tries to get a good run out the exit, but at the moment they're still behind Cooper Otter, and the field is mostly, I guess, mostly intact. That's a stopped car. That is, I think that's Christian Clippard, and if you said that's Chris Clippard, oh, a little bit sketchy, trying to get back on the racetrack. I wonder what happened. That is Christian Clippard and Nicholas Vucinich involved in an incident. So a lot of chaos going on here in Donington Park. I'm not sure what's going on here, but we'll look in the replay as we see Vucinich here in that Audi R8. As you see Christian Clippard ahead over there. I believe that's the Mercedes of him. As I think Clippard's gone really wide. Has they? Yep. Oh, and Vucinich, an unfortunate passenger to that. You know, they couldn't react in time to the wreckage of Christian Clippard, and I think that's going to be really big damage for both cars.
Yeah, that's the danger of Donington. It's really, really hard to see where other cars are when you're heading up the hill like that, and I think, yeah, like you said, just not enough time and was too committed to the corner. Just lost it on their own, it looks like. Just you know, spun out onto the grass. You know, nice long drift there, but that's going to be a quite significant amount of damage on the side of that car. So you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being some suspension damage. You know, knocking the wheels out of alignment. So Clippard here, another casualty of Donington Park, and that promotes Vossi up to P4. and it promotes basically every other pro behind them up at least one position. Lohi is up to P8 now, Yapshintek right behind into P9, and Parker Olsen up into P6 after their adventure in the first couple of laps. So yeah, right as we were saying that things were looking stable up there at the top, you know, it's just those mistakes start to creep in a little bit.
Yeah, it's just
There's another
really
car
chaotic.
off.
That's a car off, and at the moment it's really hard to catch up. It's just Swingley almost getting on the inside of Lewis Gordon, but a lot of drivers are just a lot of kerfuffle that it's really hard to focus. But at the moment, I think this race is going to be judged by who has the best racecraft, who can keep their nose out of trouble. Like, you see the likes of Daniel Taverner, who's been in the lead. I mean, getting the lead is guaranteed you out of the chaos. But at the moment, it's really down to who kept their nose the cleanest. And at the moment, it's Nicholas Vucinic with that is heavy damage. I believe that's damage sustained from that incident with Christian Clippert. And at this point, I believe they ought to be coming to pit lane as we look into the replays. Did they have another incident down in the chicane, I reckon?
Could be. It looks like we're heading in now. Yeah, just bumping too much over that. The ACC suspension just making a victim of them in that point, and that's probably also a bit of a loss to front downforce there, maybe contributing to that as well. The Audi R8 not really super great at front downforce to begin with, and has lost even more with that hood popped up, with those aerodynamic bits on the front damaged as well. So yeah, day continues to get worse for them. It's looking like day's looking pretty good for Luis Gordon, who's up 4 positions up into P12 now, and is fighting Car's 4 position in front of them. We've seen Luis go on the offensive before and do a really good job doing it. So definitely the kind of race that they want to be in. They're in their element. Sadket down 8 positions down in P20. We've seen the couple of incidents that led to that as well, but Sadket is now the second to last silver in the field right now. We've had 3 cars retire, it looks like, out of our 28 car field. We have 25 remaining, and there's a couple of other positions being made up right now. It looks like Strami and Parker Olsen are fighting for positions right now up there in P5 and P6. Lots of battles happening at the moment. We're trying to focus on ones as best as we can, but Christian Clippert here starting the recovery drive, trying to get around Luis Gordon as fast as they can. I don't imagine that Luis is going to make this particularly hard, but I mean, we've seen other cars racing outside of their class before, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of kerfuffle today, and a lot of shuffling on the order. As you can look at the grid, it's hard to keep track as Luis Gordon tries to get past, but that's Christian Clippert going through. They're gonna be too wide, but Christian Clippert, I think, thinks better of it now. I think Clippert at the moment is not suffering as much damage as I'd say. Who's that fella again? That would be the Audi Vucinic. Yeah, that's Vucinic. That is Gordon going a bit slippery as Cooper Otter, and I believe that is the Porsche of, I believe that is Jesper Swingy. The grid is shuffling a lot like a deck of cards right now. It's hard to track who to focus on, but at the moment, this is the train we have right here, and it's between, as Christian Clippert goes down the inside of the number 76 BMW of Hoheisel. Now, I think that's going to be Luis Gordon trying to find scraps, but at the moment, Christian Clifford has picked up another position and will be trying to climb up on their way into the gold class field. But at the moment, this kerfuffle of cars is going to be quite a chaotic one to watch.
Yeah, I think Christian worked their way through those cars as best as they could, really. That was, I mean, fairly efficient passing through there. It looked like about as efficient as you can get on a track like this. So that's going to definitely help as we creep closer and closer to our pit window here. Again, like in all of our races, it's a 20-minute pit window, which means that between 40 minutes and 20 minutes remaining in the race, you can come in and serve your mandatory pit stop, which includes a required tire change that'll take you you about 30 seconds to get that done, along with filling the car up with fuel, although those can happen simultaneously. And Jesper Swingley looking to make a move here up into P12. They would love to be able to get this position off of the AM driver, Cooper Otter here, who has been defending pretty heavily from this car, it looks like so far. And yeah, just not wanting to really, going really wide. That was having to bail out of the chicane there, and I think that was just, they felt the grip falling away from them. They just had to bail out of that one off to the right side, and that's going to give Jesper the position. Now they have a couple of other AMs to work their way through, and hopefully they shouldn't have to work through the pros by the time they get to Blade Wolf up there, who remains in P7 and is currently defending from Yapshin Tech, who is looking to get back at Lohi right in front of the pair of them. I wonder how hard Blade Wolf is going to make this. I have to imagine probably not that hard, considering that all of their competitors pretty much have gotten in at least one incident at this point, if not two. So at this point, they're just looking to make it to the end the way that they have been, the way that you've been talking about, just keeping their nose out of trouble, and it's looking to looking to work out pretty well for them.
Yeah, as you saw the flash of Yapchin Tech, letting Blade Wolf know that he's right behind, they want to get past, and that they shouldn't be defending too hard, because at the end of the day, this is not Blade Wolf's fight, because they got a comfortable lead in the silver class. So I think the strategy of, if I were in Blade Wolf's shoes, or if I were in the seat of Blade Wolf, to say in better terms, but I wouldn't be putting up too much of a fight for Jintech. I would be focusing on, I would say, using them as a tow, or using them for the slipstream, because at the moment you need every bit of speed here in Donington Park to try and slowly peel away from the likes of Jesper Swingley, who might come in pounds in the later stage, but at the moment they're still quite a long way, but who knows.
I think we ended up having another retirement. I wouldn't be surprised if that was due to connection issues, because we saw earlier the leaderboard sort of flickering back and forth. It looked like Parker Olsen was sort of jumping all around there, and that's usually a sign of a pretty bad network connection, and I think they have gone ahead and retired the car at this point. So Parker Olsen no longer in this one. We have Vossi still holding strong there in P4, taking that position off of the mistake of Christian Klippert, who is now down in P9 and is still trying to chase after Yapshin Tech in P8, but the lap times have not been very good for either of these drivers, really. They are well into the 28s now, whereas the rest of the front of the field, you want to be in that sort of high to mid 27s at the very least. So it's looking like they're probably going to continue to fall away from this front group, at least as it stands now, maybe suffering from some tire degradation as well. I'm not sure exactly how hot the track is right now, but if it's a hot track, then that could definitely have something to do with the tires sliding around, especially if you take a slide like the one that Christian Klippert did. That'll take a lot of life out of the tires, so I'm sure that those tires are probably they're probably squares more than circles on that Mercedes right now, so that won't be helping either.
I mean, it's pit window open, so these drivers can choose to come in and serve their mandatory pit stop, but of course, there's a little twist. I feel like some drivers might want to sit it out, wait until the dying final moments. It's going to be very risky considering the temps and considering how tired that comes into play, but it's going to be good to pay a lot of dividends in your lap time in the final stint, assuming you can make an overtake and try and get past. And we all know Donington Park is a really tricky circuit to get past. There's hardly any overtaking points, let alone points to try and get a good tow, because you got a lot of corners that'll throw dirty air onto you, as we see Lowy here trying to pick another driver. That is George Sarami, who I believe is leading the AM class all the way up in P5 now. That is an impressive race from George Sarami. They've been really quiet, and right now they are here in P5. That just shows how a quiet race can always be a good race. And as we see George Sarami up in P5.
Yeah, a little bit more on the strategy. I have to wonder if the undercut might be in play, especially for a lot of these folks that are currently stuck in these really long car trains. We have still the train from basically P10 to P12. It looks like that are still kind of duking it out down there. If you're one of those cars that fell off the back of the front group through mistakes or whatever, thinking about, Christian here, think about Lohi here, and maybe even potentially Yapshin Tech, who honestly I feel like is probably just looking to sort of run their own race here and not interact too much with cars on track, and is just hoping that the lap times are going to get them into the position that they want to be in. It's been working out pretty well so far. They're up into P7. No cars have come in, so that is a true P7. For Christian Clippard, who we've been talking about especially, it might be worth it to come in a little bit earlier and see if you can get out on those tires, but you want to make sure that you don't pit into traffic, because that will definitely hurt your lap times more than it'll help it. If you can't actually use the grip that the fresh tires provide you, then the strategy is just sort of it doesn't work that way. But for folks that are stuck behind other cars that have been fighting a lot in this first half of the race, I think it might be worth it to start thinking about coming in at the very least. We're getting closer to the 30-minute mark, which is pretty intuitively where you would want to pit to sort of maximize the life of both sets of tires, because if you come in a little bit early, then you're really going to be struggling at the end, especially the way that we've seen the tires evolving throughout this race. So lots to consider, and there goes somebody already in the pits right now is making that decision.
Yes.
Fusinish has come in as well, and Nutagen has come in as well, so we are definitely seeing the pit strategy start to come in now.
I mean, if you're like Lohi and you're faster than Sarami, I believe that the undercut is an optimal strategy, because the more time you spend behind the likes of Sarami, who doesn't have as much pace as you, I believe that that'll just make you drop lower and lower. So I believe that pitting early is a healthy strategy if you're stuck behind a car like this. Like, you have no choice, because if you're staying out, it's not worth staying out if you're behind someone who you're faster than and you can't get past. It's better to just go for the undercut and just live with tire deg at the end of the stint. But at the moment, as we see George Sarami letting Lohi by, no, I think Sarami is going to fight it still. It was really tricky, but I think Sarami just went wide, and Sarami's still fighting out with Lohi. But if I was Lohi, again, I'd come in. I'd spend my out laps pushing like crazy so that I can get the track position.
Going around again. I mean, the track position probably isn't going to make too much of a difference. The most that it would do is get them in front of George Sarami here up into P5, which is a good position, but there's still 7 seconds between this car and the next gold, which is Vossi up in P4, who themselves is pretty far off the back of Nicholas Zahn up in P3. So the top three are looking pretty set right now. I think really the most that you would see.
Whoa,
that is
what
an aggressive move and a little bit of a bump there on the exit. Lohi decided that they had enough, and that's them through. So now the calculus might be a little bit different. You have nothing but clear air in front of you. You might want to just push on this set of tires for as long as you can until you can come in and get them changed. That might be the way to go now. But mostly, yeah, where you want to come in is sort of when you're getting held up. And it looks like another incident maybe for Nicholas Zahn. Oh, in fact, who actually ended up losing a lot of time there. Did not lose a position, but did lose a lot of time. Vossi is now only about 3 seconds away from this car, 2 seconds now it looks like, and we'll see what happened here. It was probably ended up being just some traffic between them and Christian Clippard, who I'm surprised is already being lapped in this race, but I suppose that's what happened considering all of the things. And
Christian Clippard
just broke a little bit too late, and just some more hits into their passenger side door for good measure there. So I don't know how much damage that's going to end up being. I don't see anything super visible on that Lexus RCF right now, but there could be something being carried that could be affecting the performance. We'll see.
Yeah, I think Clifford was a little too close to be breaking that late compared to Zahn, and unfortunately Zahn had to pay the price. They not only do they have some rear end damage, but they do have a little bit of side damage. Now, oh, that is Christian Clifford spinning! I wonder
Once
what
again.
happened there, but yeah, once again, a really rough day for the number 236 Tiggang Racing, was currently down in P16. Now, they did come in for a pit stop, and they're already struggling on their set of tires. Are they just cold, or have they not gone into temperature yet, or are the temps really that bad that they're struggling right now? I wonder, as we look at the replay, that is Clifford heading. Yeah, that is going to do it. That's a little bit loose coming off, and yeah, fishtailing, and oh, he just lost the car there.
Yeah,
Good-
those tires
good
are
P60.
cooked, aren't they?
Yeah. Absolutely cooked. Those tires are scorching hot. They're begging. And they've only been a few laps old, and Christian Clifford, oh, worse and worse. Now I wonder, is there something wrong with the tires, or Christian Clifford just, yeah, this is just a night.
Coming in again. Oh,
He just
no.
knocked it. He just knocked the pit board, and I believe that is game over for Christian Clifford. They've retired
That's going to be a
from
reset
this race.
for sure. Yeah. Unfortunate. Yeah, I think it really just that to me looked like just a wheel getting knocked out of alignment or something like that. The cars just looked completely uncontrollable at that stage, and I guess they were just trying to come in to see if they could get that damage repaired, or even just retire in a safe way. But took out the speed limit pit board and then crashed into the outside wall. So yeah, that car was just completely toast by that point. Luis rumbling it over the inside curb there, pushing that car pretty hard to try to catch back up to Jesper Swingley here. We have a 28-second pit stop time, which that's the time they have to remain stationary in order to get those tires changed and the fuel in. It's actually a really short pit lane, so I don't imagine you probably lose too much time other than that. So that's definitely going to sort of play into the strategy a little bit. Nobody in our top 13 has pitted yet, it looks like. Almost all of our AMs have, interestingly enough. A lot of them, I'm sure, probably just following their competitors in, trying to sort of match the strategy and stay close to each other. That's probably what they're trying to end up doing. But it does mean that for the top drivers who haven't pitted, they're probably going to be getting into a fair bit of traffic potentially once they come back out. Daniel Taverner still up there in front. There's Blade Wolf into the pits, so that's somebody who is having a really comfortable race so far. This is going to temporarily drop them out of contention for the silver lead, but I'm sure they will get it back as soon as the rest of their competitors get back out there as well. Jesper is staying out, so got clear air in front of them. I'm sure they're probably just looking to take advantage of that and see if they can get back up in that time. But I have to imagine that they're probably going to want to cover that off sooner rather than later. We are past the halfway point of the race, so the tires are going to be pretty bad at this point if you are still on the tires from your first stint, regardless of whether you've spun out 5 times or not. It could be just trying to build a tire gap and just making sure that you have them nice and fresh for the last bit of the race when you want to start getting aggressive and start attacking.
Yeah, Jesper Swingley has all the freedom to wipe his way across the track and get as much lap time out of those tires. But as Blade Wolf comes out, we have Luis Gordon, who might be a bit of trouble for Jesper Swingley. That's not the ideal strategy if you want to get past Blade Wolf. You really want to be pushing, you really want to be getting those lap times down, but whatever floats Swingley's boat, whatever gets them to the end of the race, I guess I can see this. I can see the vision. Anyways, we have, I believe that is another lap car. That's the Audi of Busenich. So they're a ways down. They're not in this fight. So right now, Swingley's just getting the toe of Luis Gordon. If they think that Luis Gordon's faster, because at the moment it's hard to tell between these two. They have been on par with each other. At Jesper Swingley actually closing in. I think that was a bad idea to be letting Luis Gordon pass. So yeah, it's a little confusing, but whatever gets Jesper Swingley home, I guess I can see it. Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not having a great race so far, just, especially, considering all the stuff that they got tangled up in towards the front of this one. So it's still there's still putting in halfway decent lap times. It's not terrible, but we'll see what Blade Wolves are going to be looking like now that they are sort of out and getting those tires warmed up. They're down in P12 right now, and remember that gap that we said, it's about 28 or 30 seconds that you're losing when you are in the pits. As Sauce Dragon is right now the first of our front runners to come in, so Daniel Taverner's still staying out there, and I have to imagine they'll probably be coming in the next lap or two to cover this one off. Not that it really matters too much for them. They've been really dominant throughout this one, so it doesn't really matter what they do for the pit strategy, but they just want to make sure that they don't leave it out too long, because that could potentially lead to, especially when you're starting to run into traffic like this, could potentially run into some lost time. But now there's a lot of folks, a lot of activity in the pit lane now, as the rest of the grid is coming in for their mandatories.
Yeah, we have only 6 minutes of the pit window, so I can see why everyone's coming in. But at the moment, yeah, as I said, 6 minutes to get your pit stops done. And at the moment, the ones staying out are Taverner, Zon, Sadcat, and Charter and Wilson. And I think that's just it. Those are the few drivers that I think will be committing to staying out till the very end. As we see in the pit lane, that is George Sarami coming out, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's Gordon or Sarami, but either of them. Yeah, that's Sarami ahead in the AM class, just coming out into the inside of Blade Wolf. Now Blade Wolf is not Sarami's fight, but I think, yeah, there's no way. I think Sarami is just gonna use the toe of Blade Wolf to try and run away from Luis Gordon.
Yeah, so that worked out perfectly for Blade Wolf then. In that case, managed to get out in front of the traffic before they had to sort of overtake them again. Nicholas on here navigating some more traffic themselves as well. You can definitely actually, I think, see some of the damage on the front of that Lexus. So could be carrying a little bit there on the right side sort of fender there, the front fender. We'll see. They haven't come in for their pits yet. I'm really interested to see what the gap is going to look like between them and Fossey, because it was pretty close after that bit of contact that they had with Christian Klippert there that we saw in the final hairpin. Daniel Taverner making their way around Yapshin Tech, who is already being lapped at this point. I think Daniel is probably going to want to come in pretty soon at this point. I know I've said that like 3 times already, but they still haven't done it. And neither has Nicholas Zahn, who is still running out there, and I think is probably just trying to see if they can stay ahead of Fossey by the time that they come back in. Sasha's definitely gotten in front of Fossey. That there's no question about that. Sadcat down in P4 is going to pit, and that's going to promote Fossey up to where they were in P4. But it's just going to be a matter of whether Nicholson is going to be able to hold on to P3, and they're going around for another lap.
Yeah, at the moment, I think the fight is between Sauce Dragon and Nicholas Zahn. Daniel Taverner is quite a long way, and that I think that's the reward of getting pole position. You don't have to join in you don't get involved in the chaos, assuming you make it past turn 1. And Daniel Taverner has so far checked all the right boxes, and they've got themselves a healthy lead in the race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like we said after the end of qualifying, looked like it was going to be another Sunday drive, and it pretty much has been, thankfully, considering that the rest of the field has been so chaotic today. It definitely has been a really, really just up and down race for a lot of folks here, especially for the likes of Vossi, who you'll remember in P1 or at lap 1, turn 1. Was sort of doing their best impression of being in an AI race and just like completely just overtaking everybody at the start. It was up into P2 and is now back down to P4. So that is Sadcat down in the pits, and that is going to promote Vossi up to that P4. But again, let's see, the gap right now between them and Nicholas Zahn, it looks like it is about a minute or something. That looks about right. So that might be too much of a gap for Vasi to overcome potentially if they are able to get even close to the back of that Lexus. But it looks like the lap times have been pretty good. Again, the lap time sort of before the pits, it was looking like it was around 28, low 28 seconds. We're back down into the 27s again for most of the top of this field. So that is sort of the benchmark that is being laid down for everybody to follow. And Nicklason actually, even though they haven't pitted, is still putting in pretty decent lap times. It was a 27.8 last lap from them, which is not faster than Sosh, but it is faster than Vasi, and that is who Niclason's race is today, is Vasi. So should be able to get out comfortably in front, but again, any other mistakes or weird stuff happening with traffic could bring them right back together again.
Yeah, it could be anyone's race for the battle of P2. Now, at the moment, Nicklason still staying out as Daniel Tabner dives into the pit lane. So that will be, I think that'll leave Nicklason the only one who has to pit. Now, granted that Nicklason will be coming in on this lap, which I believe Nicklason will be coming in as they dive down the inside. Yes, they're coming into the pit lane. So that is everyone having served their mandatory pit stop, and now this will be the final stints of everyone.
Yeah, left it about as late as possible, which we've seen more of that in this series, I think, than we've seen in other series. Typically, when we have a mandatory pit window like this, a lot of folks opt to just split the middle between their two stints and pit basically as close to the 30-minute mark as they can. But in this series, we've seen quite a bit of folks leaving it to, I think this would probably be literally the last lap that you could pit while still being able to count it towards your mandatory pit stop. And of course, if you miss that, it's a very, very harsh penalty. So you don't want to play around with that too much. They left it basically as long as they could. Tabner is going to come back out into P1 as expected.
I think Sauce Dragon's going to get passed. Yeah,
and yeah, Sauce Dragon is
passed
already. But again, right, we said that wasn't Niclason's race. Niclason's race is Vasi, who is approaching quite rapidly. Is down on the start-finish straight right now. And there's Nicklason on the exit. They're really, really close to each other. And this is definitely going to be a fight for the last step on the podium between these two, with Vasi with the warm tires. Less than a second between the two of them. Nicklason is going to have to warm up these tires really quickly and hope that the damage on that Lexus has either been repaired or isn't going to affect them too much. I don't think it's been repaired because you can still see a little bit of those scratch marks on the rear wing. So I think that they're probably still carrying that damage, and now it's less than half a second between these two.
I think Vasi, I'm not sure if Vasi's still carrying damage from that incident with Olsen, but I think both are on equal ground. Both cars are a bit scratched, and Vasi Tiger is actually closing in quite more as the pit window finally closes, and that's everyone. Game, set, match. That's their pit stops done and dusted. But at the moment, Vasi Tiger is gonna be closing in really fast on that Lexus, trying to make a pounce while their tires are cold. Because when those tires warm up, it's game, set, match. As one of the drivers does not want to interrupt the business here. They don't really want to pay a factor. That's a blue flag driver here, but Vasi Tigris trying to claw back the time, trying to get past Nicholas on whatever it takes, and that was a loose exit for Tigris. They're really fighting the car, trying to get past, trying to stay close to Nicklason in that number 46 Cavallo Simsports Lexus.
And it's still 20 minutes to get this done. It's absolutely possible, even on this track where the overtaking is going to be difficult. So now it's just going to be the two of them sizing each other up for the rest of this race. Where are they faster? Where are they slower? And looking at the sector times between the two of them, I think it's probably going to end up being the Porsche. Looked like it got really, really close in those last couple of hairpins. Again, those high traction zones where the Porsche really tends to shine. And then over the rest of the lap, it looks like Nicklason just ekes out a little bit more out of the car between the two of them. But the lap times are looking really, really similar between these two, and I'm not surprised at this point. Again, Nicklason, the tires are warm at this point, and they are a couple of laps newer than Voss's are going to be for the rest of this race. But you know, I don't imagine honestly that the tire gap is going to play too much of a factor in this one. It's probably mostly just going to come down to the raw pace between these two drivers and how clean they're able to keep it, how much they're able to push the track limits without going over. And you know, it's a long time. It's 17 minutes where they have to just not make a mistake. And if you're Nicholas on here, you're definitely feeling the pressure, so that's going to compound it as well.
Yeah, speaking of edging the track limits, we saw Vossi Tigris making the most out of that final corner now. Yeah, Vossi's really pushing hard, and it's only 17 minutes, so I'm not sure if this is the optimal strategy, but I think it's just Vossi Tigris trying to get as close to the toe of Nicholas on as much as possible, which it's still not good for your tires. I mean, Vossi's looks like he's really getting the most out of that car. He's just, and that is Marer trying to get past, just smashing into a polystyrene board. Rest in peace to that board as Vossi Tigris and Nicholas Zahn zips past.
Yeah, that's not a board that you want to take out either. That's one of those ones that are sort of at the crest of that hill, just telling you honestly like where the apex is. So you know, for any car that's going through there at this point with that board taken out, it's going to be mostly a matter of just, you know, remembering how it feels to go through that corner, and you know, using some other markers, maybe trying to find some other ones to rely on so that you can brake for that one and turn in effectively. We're going to go back to a replay here of, I presume that, yeah, so here's Maurer just heading up the hill at this point. Yeah, just trying to give way for the both of them. That was a lot of time lost actually for Nicholas Zahn behind that car, and yeah, just plowing into it right there. Just bits of polystyrene strewn all over the kitty litter. That is definitely going to be a job for the our virtual marshals in basically after this race is over. They're going to be in there just trying to pick up bits of foam board. Not a fun job.
Yeah, that polystyrene can get everywhere. Sadcat here, right behind Otter here. It's trying to pick the drivers one by one, and now Sadcat is on the podium in the silver class, which is an improvement based on where they are when they drop back. But if I were Sadcat, I would be bummed because that pole position could have been mine, you know. But unfortunately, all the chaos happened, and now they're down there clawing back third in the silver class. But that is a commendable drive there. That is pretty decent recovery drive from the number 13 Lamborghini to drop down and then come back to this position.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking like the order has mostly reasserted itself, despite all of the weirdness and the chaos that we had in the sort of front half of this race. Things are looking pretty stable, except for, you know, this fight between Sadcat and Cooper Otter, who's quietly had a pretty good race as well, you know, for them. So yeah, if we're taking a look at big winners, it's basically you know, everybody. Blade Wolf definitely probably the biggest winner out of this one, is going to be the biggest winner in the silver class. I can't imagine, barring some, you know, something horrible happening, they're going to be taking the top step in the silver class. Just for Swingley as well, getting quite a bit out of this, as is Luis Gordon right in front of them in P9. It's been a really good drive from them to get up into the top 10. Good drive from Yapshin Tech as well, who again we've seen involved in a couple of incidents, and this one has ended up back where they started, which is you know, in this race sometimes just holding position is the most that you can hope for, and that ended up being what they could hope for and what they ended up getting. They could still try to get this one from Lohi, who unfortunately is going to be down in 5th from where they started in 2nd, which was absolutely not where they wanted to be. But all things considered, it's really not that bad. You know, at one point in this race, I think they were down in what, like 16th, 17th, something like that, you know, out of 28 cars, and we've had what, 6 retirements in this one. So yeah, it's been a bit of a wild one.
Yeah, that is commendable recovery drive from those drivers who clawed their way back up, and that shows that consistency still pays off. Even though you had a bad start, I feel like this track really rewards consistency. If you can just keep your nose pointed at the right direction. If you just keep out of trouble, then like the likes of Blade Wolf, this track will reward you heavily. As you can see, in the case of Blade Wolf, who's kept their nose clean the whole time, and they're in the lead of the silver class. Take Tavener as well. They've been in the lead throughout the whole race. This could be a grand slam for them. And let's take Sarami as well. They're well within the top 10 now. That's really impressive if you're going to keep your nose clean.
Yeah,
you'll get
absolutely.
impressive feats here in Donington Park. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks great. What else can we talk about for the next, 12 and a half minutes? Because things are definitely settling down. It looks like Vossi wasn't able to keep up with Nicholas on, so they'll probably have to settle for P4 here. Again, barring any mistakes. We've seen a lot of mistakes in this race so far, so, you know, it could still happen. And Blade Wolf could still get this position potentially off of Sarami, but it's not going to be for anything important, mostly just for bragging rights. And yeah, this battle that we're following right now between Sadcat and Cooper Otter, which again, it's a cross-class battle, but hey, why not go for it, right? It's looking like they're going to the inside here as they're heading up the hill, up into turn whatever this is, and the two of them just keeping it clean pretty much. Sadcat is looking to duck to the inside once again on this turn further up the hill, and that's a bit of a lunge
contact
from them. A little bit of contact, but I think that is just within the realm of acceptable racing there. That's going to be Sadcat up into the top 10 for this one.
At the moment, yeah, I think looking at times, I think Daniel Taverner might have been a victim to network issues. That is Sauce Dragon for the lead now. That is just really unfortunate. I gotta feel really bad for them if that's the case, because they've been having a perfect race up until network issues now.
Yeah, gosh.
Now, admittedly, I've been having network issues with my spectators, so and so did Parker Olsen. So it's not like it's a one-off thing. It's happening to a lot of drivers, and at the moment, Sauce Dragon has survived that. Now, Nicholas on in P2, and that promotes Vossi Tigris onto the podium.
That's going to be a huge swing in the championship. I mean, there's still the drop round, right? I think Taverner has been here for all of our rounds, so this could potentially be a drop round for them. So potentially not too much damage done on the leaderboard side of things, but it is going to be a big day for Sosh because you know, a win here would be a really, really good bump in points for them, as well as Nicholas on there in P2, and Vossi finds their way onto the onto the bottom step of the podium, despite everything. Still manages to get on there. And yeah, here's Blade Wolf now coming around sector 1 at the moment. Looks like they probably maybe lost it on their own potentially. We're still following this around a little bit, and no, didn't really have anything happen to them. It's looking okay for them, at least so far. For some reason, our timing sheet says that Blade Wolf is on top. We're having a little bit of weirdness there again, so it might potentially be another retirement coming our way for network issues. That would be really unfortunate if that were the case. But that bit of you know, leaderboard jumping around tends to it's been seeming to foreshadow the network issues. So we'll see if anybody drops out.
At the moment, I think, as far as I'm aware, that's what I'm hearing. It might be a game crash. Yeah, I've received confirmation from Tavener that it's a wheelbase related game crash. Now, that is very strange. I'm not sure if I've had this before. I mean, the game did not crash because of the wheelbase, but my wheelbase lost force feedback. That was way back in, I believe that was season 5. I was pole position back there, so it was really heartbreaking. But yeah, it's just technical issues happening to a lot of people. Now I wonder if there are gremlins within the system of everyone, or the track's just cursed. But there's something going on here. There's something for sure.
Could very well be, but we're down in the final 10 minutes of this race. There are still a couple of positions on offer, but for the most part, everybody's just going to be looking to get to the end of this one. Could be Hoheisel making this is a battle for position between them and Cooper Otter down in the AM class. The two BMWs going at it. Could be potentially a couple of laps left in this one to actually get this move done, and we've seen how hard it is to follow at this track. So it's going to be maybe difficult to get this done, especially because they're so similar in lap times. But we'll see. We'll see if they're able to make something happen here.
At the moment, there's not much going on in the dying moments, except, let's say, the current technical gremlins we're having right now. But here we have the closest fight right now. I think that's just Cooper Otter versus Hoheisel. Now, I don't think there's a lot of progress between these two. This is actually for the final podium position of the AM class, I believe. I'm not sure if... Yeah, I think Hoheisel's a national class driver, so this won't count towards them. But so Cooper Otter kind of safe in the AM class podium, but I think Hoheisel wants to get past just for bragging rights, you know, getting tech podium in the AM class, but this just shows that they're a solid AM class driver that could fight for podiums, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially, you know, just considering the racecraft and, you know, making sure that they're keeping their nose clean in here. Again, we've been saying that over and over again, but it is a really big part of it. You know, it's not always about just, you know, the raw pace or the qualifying or anything like that. Around a track like this, for sure, qualifying is important. But, you know, if you're able to just run your race while everybody else is. Ooh, this is really close to the back of Cooper Otter now. That big BMW sniffer getting pretty close to the back of Cooper here. This is definitely not an overtaking zone down into this particular corner in the first sector, but it looks like Hoheisel is going to make it into one as they are going side by side. They're going to edge out just a little bit, maybe a front axle ahead of that other BMW here, and they're just going to have to back out of it through that sweeper. There was just not enough grip there on the outside to carry it through, and they're going to have to try again. A little bit of a wiggle there from Cooper up in front, but that was some good defending there.
This is Bimmer on Bimmer, and now this is going to be a thing for the 5 minutes we have on this race. This is the only thing we're watching at the moment because that's the only on-track action we have now. I mean, not considering what could be technical gremlins, I think the grid here is game, set, match, bar these two. Now, I think Hoheisel has the pace, but Cooper Otter just defending quite solidly, just putting that BMW in the right places.
Yeah, well, we got a front row seat to this battle for the rest of this one for sure. 5 minutes left on this one. That should be enough for maybe 3 or 4 laps left. And again, the overtaking opportunities are starting to run a little bit dry for the 76 BMW now, who has dropped back a little bit on this lap after that attempt. They're going to have to recollect themselves and just try to get as close as they were through that section and just try again. But sometimes it's not just a matter of getting close, but it's where you get close, because we saw there that they've had a lot of overlap. I mean, they literally had a front axle ahead of that car, heading through this part of the track, but they just weren't able to do anything with it because we're heading into this really high speed uphill stuff right here where grip is very limited. You really just want to head into here. We've seen a couple overtakes into this corner, but this time around not close enough, and you just want to stick behind and try to see if you can pick out a better opportunity here. As we go sort of on board on our bumper cam here, we'll see how aggressive they're feeling through the quite aggressive there through the chicane. Both of them really, really similar on lap times. Last lap for Sadket last lap for Hoheisel, excuse me, was a 30.6, and last lap for Cooper Otter was a 30.2. So currently Cooper Otter is just starting to edge out this gap. If they're able to build that up over a couple of laps, they should be pretty safe at this point, and it's going to probably take either a mistake or just a bit of desperation here from Hoheisel to get this done.
I mean, Hoheisel has been staying relatively close to Cooper Otter. They've been at least just under a second, but at the moment, I think those tires, they're starting to die off from being under the dirty air, and from overheating. And at the moment, I think that's just making Cooper Otter slowly peel away at the moment. But it's too close to call. We only have 3 minutes remaining. Hoheisel still could have a chance if Cooper Otter slips up, but Cooper Otter has been driving quite nicely, so I don't think that's a likely unless Hoheisel can push whatever he can on that BMW, trying to drive the tread out of those tires if he has to.
Yeah, exactly. Take a look at all this green on the positions gained here. I mean, anybody who's still in the race right now is looking to finish better than they started, basically, which is great. You know, that's basically exactly where you want to be in. Ooh, there was a little bit there. I think we might have missed it. It was really, really close between the two of them, and now suddenly Hoheisel is in front of Cooper Otter. Although they're going to go back side by side again, I don't think that they're going to have enough grip there on the inside to sort this out. So it's going to continue to just be single file between these two. We'll see if Cooper Otter is able to get it back.
Ugh, that's
just
close.
Trying to poke a nose in on the inside there, and there just wasn't enough grip once again. So I think Cooper is just going to have to recollect and accept that they're now the attacking car rather than the defending car. I didn't quite see that move happen on track. I might have been rambling about something else.
At the moment, I'm looking back, and I think it's Cooper Otter losing traction on that chicane that allowed Hoheisel to get past now. Hoheisel has all that free air now. Now all they have to do is run away from the other bimmer of Cooper Otter, and they've got 1 minute 30. They've essentially got a whole lap, a lap or two, just to stay ahead. And I think that's not a hard objective. As we see a lap traffic going wide into the kitty litter there, not optimal. That was Wilson, I believe. As we have Cooper Otter still trailing behind Hoheisel, but not that far off. Maybe they're trying to find a slip, but they're getting much closer. Will there be an overtake down into hairpin? Cooper Otter looking down the inside. It's gonna be quite risky, but thinks better of it. Hoheisel getting the better exit as Otter stuck his nose in too early, and that will be Hoheisel ahead, and that just compromised Otter's line. But Otter coming back for more. They've essentially got about one more lap to get. I think, yeah, that's one more lap, because that's the leader behind them. I'm looking at Sauce Dragon. They are behind these two fighting right now. So Sauce Dragon has just crossed the line for their final lap. There they are in that number 73 confuzzled Mustang. Now, if I have a Sauce Dragon, I would just sit there. I have a huge gap behind me. I mean, just break out the popcorn and just watch these two fight. But obviously, I want to be careful around these guys, because an incident with them could cost me the win of the race.
Yeah, break out the popcorn and put our broadcast on the side of your screen and just enjoy it while you get the front row seat to this. And I think honestly the overtaking opportunities are running out. We've got two big ones towards the end of this lap, and we've seen how good Cooper Otter has been compared to Hoheisel through especially this chicane. They make up a lot of time through this section, so we'll see if that was good enough to get them close enough. And I don't think it's going to be at 7/10 between the two of them, especially if Sauce Dragon decides to go for this overtake. I don't think they're going to. So there's one more opportunity gone, and now it's literally going to have to come down to the last corner of the last lap for this car if they want to make it done, and they're just not going to. That opportunity is going to close. That gap is going to close, and Hoheisel is going to finish ahead in P11, and also Sash crossing the line to win this race, unfortunately, due to a wheelbase-related crash from Daniel Taverner, who was dominant all day up until this up until that unfortunate bit of connectivity issue. But Sash taking the win here. Niklasan promoted up into P2, and Vasi gets that P3 that they were looking for. And Lohi recovers up into P4 from P2, so not too bad of a day for them, all things considered. Yapshin Tech will be rounding out our gold field in be wrapping up our gold field in P5. There's only 5 cars left that are fighting for these overall positions, and that is just the kind of day that we've been having. 20 cars total are going to go ahead and cross the line for this last bit for us. So, and you know, I'm actually looking right now, and it doesn't look like Hoheiso and Cooper Otter have taken the checkered flag yet. I think it was because they weren't lapped. So this is actually their final lap. And I don't think they're going to be too close at this point. I think it's probably not going to be enough. That is a bit of a mistake there from Hoheiso, so it might be enough just to bring them back into this gap. 0.3 down to 0.2 now, and they're going to make a lunge for it into the inside. That gap was always going to close, and that's going to be them just crossing the line together at this point. So we got a little bit of fireworks there at the end, but they are going to be the very last cars to cross the line. That's it for Donington.
That was a great... I gotta admit, that was some really great racing from those two. But overall, this race was just very chaotic. It had everything that could go wrong. Crashes, spins, incidents with other drivers, and the worst of all, technical issues. It had everything to throw at the drivers. I mean, you have to be lucky to come out of that alive, like the likes of Sauce Dragon, who won this race.
Yeah, cars are crashing, computers were crashing, you know, it's we got all sorts of crashes here. But yeah, that is it for Donington. So that's going to be pretty significant championship ramifications, if I'm being quite honest. You know, Vasi up there in P3, it's a great drive from the TGR driver, and Nicholas Zahn as well might have clawed back a little bit, but Sash, you know, bringing things closer in the gold field. We might still have a fight on our hands for the last 2 rounds of that one, which, speaking of, just want to check real quick. I believe our next round is, it's Laguna Seca
next week. Next week we'll be racing.
I love tracks that are really small.
Yeah.
Do you like tracks that are really small? You should watch Laguna Seca.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, unironically, Laguna Seca is one of my favorite tracks, so I am looking forward to this race. But yes.
No, it's great. I like it.
Yeah. The final 2 rounds will be a America doubleheader. First, we're getting to Laguna Seca in California, and then we're going all the way to Indiana for Indianapolis for the finale. So we got 2 American races on our hands. Who can come out on top? No one knows. Anyways,
it's the weird version of Indy Road.
Yep. Anyways, before we go, I do want to promote the Simufur shop at shop.simufur.com. You can go buy our merch over there, and if you want to join in on the racing action, if you want to watch, we do have an upcoming racing event on iRacing called the iRacing Porsche Cup Series, where we test out the 992.2, the newer one actually. So if you're on iRacing and you want to race with us, if you have the Porsche Cup, then feel free to join us. Anyway, and yeah, don't forget to join the Discord server at discord.gg/Simufur if you want to watch the racing action, if you want to chat with us, I mean, whatever. Anyways, that will close up our race here for tonight. I am Suzuka alongside Kady, and we would like to thank you for watching.
Good night, everyone. See you in California.